I'm going to invite Karla Jakeman from Innovate UK to take the virtual microphone and talk to us about industry, SME particularly, and local authority engagement. So, Karla, the virtual microphone is yours.
Thanks, Steve. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're still with us. So it's there's been some really fantastic projects presented so far this morning, and I want to carry on that theme by finishing the morning on a really positive note with regards to some of the progress that we've made, some of the progress we've seen in SME and local authority engagement, not specifically around data, but in general engagement around transport innovation. So if I can just have the second slide, please, or the next one after that. Thank you. So yeah, a little look back to 5 years ago. So I started at Innovate UK in January 2015, so almost 6 years ago, but back about 5 years ago, when I first started, it was really apparent that there was a huge gap between industry, SME, industry, local authorities, academia, the catapults. None of these organisations were coordinating quite as much as we would like to see. And certainly one of the first competitions we did was the Intelligent Transport Local Authority Solutions, where we insisted as part of that project that you had to have a local authority as part of the consortia. And we had some fantastic projects from that, and it really demonstrated how local authorities and SMEs could be working more together when it comes to innovation, rather than them being these silo organisations. So a little bit about, what's changed in one word really is collaboration. So we are really seeing more collaboration now, and we've worked really hard over the last few years to get this collaboration working. And as you'll see later on, we still have some way to go, but we can really see that collaboration, local authorities are being approached more, easier to chip into, and it's, we're really starting to see the benefits of that. So where have we seen progress? Certainly with organisations like this, the Transport Technology Forum, as Steve mentioned at the beginning, very much about local authorities demonstrating what's needed, what is available, and making some of those connections. So one of the key things, obviously, in normal circumstances, is the networking and Transport Technology Forum conferences like this. So in fact, the last one was probably the last time a lot of us saw each other back in March. So yeah, it's quite strange not to be able to see everybody. The next thing really was the Transport Data Initiative. So I've seen that bounded around a little bit on the chat this morning. So the Transport Data Initiative is a spin out for one of our projects, a local authority forum ran by Bucks County Council as a local authority. And that was very much to support local authorities by helping them understand what is out there when it comes to the art of the possible for transport innovation. So then it was also an opportunity for local authorities who are really driving forward with innovation to be able to support some of those who want to innovate but aren't quite sure how, and to give them some ideas. And also, the important thing from that is to talk about what went well and what didn't. So we can have a local authority who did a project and didn't really work, maybe, I don't know, about cycle parking, and then a local authority who needs to do something about local cycle parking. The first local authority can say, don't do it that way, we did that, or if we did it again, we would do this, that and the other. So it's that learning, it's that knowledge sharing, and we're really starting to see more of that. We did some innovation roadshows. So in Innovate UK, we took the projects from the Intelligent Transport Local Authority Solutions competition. We did a roadshow around the UK and invited as many local authorities from different regions as possible to come and find out, again, the art of the possible when it comes to innovation. So showing that SMEs can really support when it comes to the challenges that local authorities are seeing. And that was really useful, especially to get more and more contacts within the local authorities. ITS UK obviously has the Local Authority Forum and doing a lot of work with regards to guidance behind the scenes. Contact, I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. So the Innovation Nation, I'm going to talk about, that came from an organisation called 42 with Contact, which is a group of organisations who are looking to support local authorities, large organisations, most of them public sector. So we're not duplicating some of these challenges, going out to local authorities again, saying, you know, what are your issues? To avoid that duplication, some of us have come together to try and be a little bit more collaborative on the other side of the fence, if you like. And the Innovation Nation is, I'm going to show you a slide in a moment, but this is a platform that of projects which has been developed, where it's a one-stop shop to go to get all of the information. Who's doing something on cycle parking? Who's doing something on GLOSA? Who's doing, you know, or you can go and you can find out about the projects, who funded them, how much were they funded, what happened, did it work, who do I contact, are the white papers as a result of it. You can get all of that kind of information in one place, which we don't currently have. It's all a bit sporadic, so we've pulled that together with 42 and supported by the Knowledge Transfer Network also. More and more local authorities we're working with are getting involved in SBRIs and the Small Business Research Initiative competitions, and I'm going to talk about that at the end just to highlight that. But I think one of the real pieces of evidence that what we've been doing has been working was the recent Geospatial Commission competition that I know some of you have bid into, so hopefully you'll find out soon whether you were successful in that. But one of the tools that we ran with that competition was the B2 Match service, which is kind of like a matchmaking service to get potential end customers such as public sector engaged with potential solution holders, SMEs, to pull them together. And I have to admit, to start with, we were a little bit anxious because there weren't so many on there, and we kept promoting it and probably bombarding you all with lots of emails saying get involved with the B2 Match service, and you probably wondering why we kept doing that, because we were thinking, why aren't people using this service as much as we thought they would? But then when we started contacting the local authorities, they said we don't need it because we already have a whole host now of local authority of SMEs who are engaging with us or have been approached directly. So we could immediately see that some of those barriers had been knocked down that we had 5 years ago. How to chip into a local authority. People have worked out how to do that, and you could see that was really working. So we were really pleased once we realised that was the case, because we were a little bit anxious about that to start with. So I'm going to talk about what issues still exist and what's next. If I can just go to the next slide, please. So what issues still exist? Cost, of course. That's a huge issue and it's not going to go anywhere fast, especially in light of the interesting year we've had. But that's also about access to funding, how people get access to funding, how local authorities can get funding, how SMEs can get into that funding that's available from local authorities. So there's still some questions around that we need to chip away at. And that leads really onto the complexity issue. There are still some complexities when it comes to frameworks and procurement and all of those types of issues with regards to supporting local authorities with their current challenges. So you might have the best innovation in the world, but if you don't have a local authority where you can test it, that's a real challenge. So how do we avoid some of those complexities? And I know there are some guidance topics this afternoon, so hopefully that will support that particular point. Lack of innovation culture and being risk averse. We've banged this drum so much over the last few years. At Innovate UK, we de-risk projects, we de-risk it for you. And certainly local authorities will get 100% funding. So if you are an SME and you have an innovation you want to work with a local authority, please do remind them that that is part of our role. They will almost certainly get 100% funding for being involved in your project. So it's really beneficial for local authorities, and I'll touch on that in a few minutes. So we do de-risk, and the limited use of competitive procurement methods. So that's really about looking at all of the different access to funding again and some of the framework issues that we're seeing, but also looking at maybe the SBRI process, which I will come on to at the end of my presentation. If we can have the next slide, please. So what is next? So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger on my screen so I can see it. A couple of things that we are doing at the moment through the Transport Technology Forum is we have commissioned 2 projects, one of them relevant to this presentation. We have asked the Transport Technology Forum to look at what the existing challenges are between SMEs and local authorities. So as mentioned, we've already moved on a massive amount and made loads of progress. But as things change, you know, we've had pandemics, etc., and new regulations, and active travel is all of a sudden more important, e-mobility. What are the new challenges that are coming on board, and how can we support more? So we've asked, it's been done through the Transport Technology Forum, ARAP are handling this for us, to really look at what those challenges are. So that will help us as a thought leadership piece, really, to work with DFT, for example, to hone down where our strategies should lead when it comes to local authority and SME engagement. So what do we need to chip at? So in the next 5 years, I'll be able to say, OK, this is where we were at 5 years ago, and we've done this, this, this. So we can really have that strategic planning. So that will go a lot of the way to supporting that. And then also with the Transport Data Initiative. So normally, for those of you, I know a lot of you have probably been to events. We have all-day events where a lot of networking can happen, and this is where we get that collaboration really happening. But obviously, obvious reasons, that's not happening this year. So we have moved to webinars instead, just to keep that communication going. But one of the good things about that is that under normal circumstances, roughly 60 to 70% of the attendance for TDIs is local authority. We do try and limit it to only a small portion of SMEs and majority local authorities. But by doing it on webinar, it's access to everybody. So that has really enabled us to open up to a wider audience, to help more SMEs understand what some of the specific challenges are from local authorities. And again, the art of the possible. So we've done one on geospatial commission. DFT did one on parking data standards. We've got a couple of DFT ones coming up. I think one in December, one in January on Street Manager Platform and the TRO Data Model Workshop. But then we have a committee where we are working behind the scenes to really work out the hot topics and where we need to help local authorities and have events such as micro-mobility. Who's been doing it already? What's working? What isn't? Active travel, decarbonisation. There's a whole host that you can see there. Future of transport planning. So we're always working on future events to try and make sure that we get the best out of the TDI, and again get that collaboration going and help local authorities and help SMEs help local authorities and vice versa. So there's still a lot of activities going on. Next slide, please. So this is a sneaky peek at the Innovation Nation. So this is the platform that I mentioned to you earlier. It's in beta mode at the moment, so we're doing lots of testing behind the scenes with 42 to really see how we can use this, and it's growing and growing and growing. It has been delayed somewhat, unfortunately, because of COVID, and 42 were pulled onto COVID activities themselves. So it did have to take a little bit of a backseat this year, but we are really close, and we hope by the next conference that we'll be able to do a big shiny launch on this, and to really give people the opportunity to delve into it. We've waited a long time for this kind of database platform, so I'm really excited about this, and we want lots of people to get involved in it, so I'm quite excited to see that one. I know the team behind the scenes are excited. We're getting closer, so that's good. And final slide, please. Thank you. This is just to touch on SBRIs. So for those who don't know, this is typically at Innovate UK, we kind of do either grants or SBRI. competitions. There are other funding methods, but they're the two largest ones that we did, most common. And SBRI seems to be even more common than grants at the moment. It's certainly a government preferred method because it's a procurement contract. So you get 100% of the funding, unlike the grant programme. And the SBRIs have massive benefits in the transport industry because it means that if you work with a potential end customer throughout that project, the benefits to the SME are they are able to really shape their innovation to the specific needs of that region, of that particular local authority, for example, which they might not have had access to or known about. They might access data that they wouldn't normally have had access to. So working together, it means that they can really hone down that particular innovation to make it more in line with what somebody would want to buy at the end of it. And then that helps them to sell it to other local authorities or make a blueprint that can be moved on to other public sector organisations later on. And then vice versa for the local authorities. I keep saying this art of the possible, but it really is important. It enables them to see what can be done. So they've got a particular challenge. What is out there that can solve this challenge? It helps them. It enables them to see those particular solutions, but at the same time, it helps them to also think more broadly. So I could maybe use that particular innovation for another transport problem I've got, or even something completely different, social working issue, for example. You know, so it enables them to get more involved with what's going on. So I heavily encourage you to have a look at our competition pages for what SBRIs are available at the moment. I should have checked just before. I think there is a rail one open, I think, at the moment, but do have a look at the competition pages and see what SBRIs are out there. And if you are a local authority, get involved. If you are an SME, encourage your local authorities to get involved or try and do some of that collaboration that we've mentioned. So just in summary, really, that's the end of my presentation, but just to highlight that we've come a long way in the last 5 years. A lot of things have changed. There's guidance coming out left, right and centre, and a lot of things have changed, especially breaking down some of those barriers. But one of the positives is that connection that we now have, that we can continue to build on going forward. And I'm looking forward to working with all of you to progress this even further in the future. Thank you very much.